Hi, my name is Ken Bukowski, and this is the first video I've ever created, first educational video I've ever created, and hopefully it can accomplish its goal. The issue is the Emery Go Round. There's been a lot of talk and a lot of misunderstanding about the Emery Go Round, so I need to clarify what the role of the Property Owners Association is in this issue and how I got involved in it, and some of the background history of the city so you can get a good picture of how it was created and why it's a problem, and it's a problem that we need to solve. Okay. Back in 1994, they created something that's called PBID law, and that's Property Business Improvement District. Property Business Improvement District. And those districts were created for areas such as downtown, where you have a group of businesses where the city has been neglecting perhaps cleaning the trash, perhaps inadequate lighting, perhaps not enough police. So you create this business district, which is controlled by the business people, and the city comes in and assesses those business people to pay an assessment based on the cost of keeping the improvement district operating. Each member that participates in the improvement district gets a certain amount of benefit. And under PBID law, only special benefits can be assessed. And that means that the special benefit that these property owners are getting can be assessed because it's specific to them. Now, a general benefit is something that benefits the public generally. This model was used to create the Emery Go Round so it would be in private hands. The city staff does not want to operate or control the Emery Go Round, and the way the city manager used to work is he actually became partners with the people that developed in the city. We may all like what we see, but it was very much controlled by the city manager. And what the city manager would do is he would work with the developers. When they created the Emery Go Round, there were 7 property owners who had direct shuttles. The city came in with redevelopment money and we created a demonstration project for the first year. And then everybody was allowed to ride the bus. And then after it got going, the city staff and the property owners, they had this idea about this assessment district. Now they have the majority of the use, so by creating this assessment district, now we can make everybody else in the city pay for mostly their use. And even today, the 7 largest property owners have the majority of the use. And they don't pay the majority of the money. So let me explain how the Emery Go Round board was set up. It's a non-profit organization, and you have a 10-member board, and 7 of the members of that board, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, are corporate members who have assigned seats on the board. This organization was set up with different classes of members. You have a corporate member, you have business member, residential member, and a public member. Now, the law says when you create a nonprofit, if you're going to have different classes of membership, you have to state that right at the beginning. Because when money is paid for membership, the members enjoy certain benefits. So if you're going to have an organization where different members have different privileges, it has to be set up that way from the beginning. And so we have the Emery Go Round. We have 7 corporate members with assigned seats. These are employees of large corporations who really have no personal stake in the community, and for the most part, don't pay much attention. Out of the 7 corporate members, you have 3 members that are active. Wareham, not even the Towers, and you used to have Denise Pinkston, and she has since retired. Now we have Francis Collins. Okay, anyway, well, he's not a corporate member. So these 7 members have assigned seats on a 10-member board. So 7 people have assigned seats. Now we have the business members. There are approximately 320 business members. Now 320 business members pay more money, more than half of the assessment, more than 60% of the assessment, yet these 7 members control all the assets of the entire corporation and all the money that's collected. They have the power to recommend an increase in the assessment each year, and there is no way this body of members in this group can affect those 7 members. They have vested interests. They work for large employers. So, and then we have one member on that board in the Chamber of Commerce. Now, the Chamber of Commerce pays no assessment and has no business on an assessment board. The Chamber of Commerce member, Bob Cantor, is paid $25,000 a year from the staff, city staff, and they get a free office from the city. So in effect, they are the city's representative. And that's why if you have a problem with your business and you go to the chamber, they can't do much for you because they have a conflict of interest, they're paid. Okay, so you have a private membership nonprofit organization that's running the Emery Go Round. Now, since its inception, Jeff Sears has been one of these corporate members on the board. He's currently the president, and he essentially controls the Emery Go Round. You have 4 of these corporate members who show up at meetings and don't say one word throughout the entire meeting. A couple of them don't even show up, so a lot of times they're not even sure if they're going to get a quorum. And, okay, so that means we have a private membership nonprofit controlling the Emery Go Round. So when we have a problem at Watergate, and when those residents go to the city council, they want some assurance that their bus service is going to continue. Well, under the present scenario, the city says, well, we don't control it. That's privately run. Well, the city is really abdicating its responsibility. I mean, let's face it, we require these people to participate in the Emery Go Round because it's a city need. And the city has to be responsible for enforcing that need. So when the residents come to the city council and they say, well, gee, restore our bus service, the city council is incumbent on them to make sure that that service is provided. Because the city actually allows them, because they collect the assessment, the city allows the ETMA to run that system under a contract. The city could find someone else to run that system, and, you know, that might be a better idea. But, anyway, okay, so when the residents come to the city council, they should be saying, well, you know what, Emery Go Round, we want you to adopt a service policy. Because as a matter of public policy, you need to know the bus is going to be there. If there are going to be changes in service, you need 60 days notice and opportunity for hearing. It's unheard of that the president of this nonprofit organization is going to just cut your service off one afternoon on the basis of a sidewalk installation. Well, how could the sidewalk be installed and the bus suddenly not turn around? Didn't they know this project was in the works? Didn't the city once promise to put a bus stop at Admiral Drive? At least when I was on the council, we did. So if the public works director is out there looking at the sidewalk, the bus is going by every 15 minutes. How could you not recognize that this is a problem for the bus? So they decided, well, the city put in the sidewalks, so we can't turn around, so they stopped the service. Now it's temporarily restored. Well, what do you mean it's temporarily restored? The city has an obligation to make sure that service is there, whether they got to pay for it, no matter what. It doesn't matter what the ETMA says, at least I don't think it does. Okay, now we have the issue of the funding. Well, the fact that these property owners are paying these assessments and the city cannot quantify the special benefit they receive means the assessment is unlawful. And these owners, who have been subject to corporate rule for all these years, are never going to renew this circumstance. If you're part of a homeowners association, what would you think if 7 members of your board, or 4 members, you had assigned seats? Why did they have different privileges when they all pay the same assessment? In some cases, the difference between the corporate member and the business member could be only a few $1,000s, but there's a lot of different privileges. You know, when you have an assigned seat on the board, you don't really care. And I think in the order of priority, the people in this city want police, fire, and the Emery Go Round, in that order. And I think that's the order that the city council should respect, and the city council should respect your needs. How could they be complacent when that service was stopped? Didn't it matter to anybody that all the folks couldn't get on the bus? Or that somebody would come out and the bus wouldn't show up? Okay. Now we have the funding mechanism, and as I stated, it's a problem. Yes, the Emeryville property owners had threatened to sue the city to invalidate the assessment, And that comes after 10 months of trying to talk to the board without any satisfaction. You know, you have to realize that before this whole issue started with the Emery Go Round, my last days on the city council, the city staff and Wareham Development came forward with the creation of an $8.5 million assessment district. Now, that project was in the works for 2 years, and even as a council member, I didn't know anything about it. So, what they did is, through an assessment district, the city staff, they drew the boundaries of an assessment district that included 21 property owners. Only 3 owners in that district own a majority of the property in the district. And so by putting together those 3 members in the city-drawn district, they could force the other 21 property owners, minority owners, to pay an assessment against their will. My last day on the council, the staff comes forward with the creation of this district. And because they were waiting for me to get off the council, they know that I would never approve something like that, and without notice. So these property owners got a notice. It was my last day on the council, and actually the first time the staff attempted to get approval, it was voted down 3-2. But how can you just assess people $8.5 million without any advance notice, and then tell them they have a right to protest after you've already organized the majority of the owners? So these owners needed relief. They hired me to see if I could solve the problem. And what I did is I looked at the 3 properties that were involved. They were Wareham, that owned 42% of the properties in the district. The city owned 5% of the property. Can you imagine using city-owned property to constitute a majority of owners? What rights do those owners, when they come before the city council, have after the council has already agreed to participate? And I'm on the council, I never voted to participate in that. And the 3rd property owner was an outside individual, a private person, who was used to try to force these property owners to pay. I organized these property owners, and then I invited that 3rd person to the meeting of these owners. And when he saw that he was used, and that his effort was going to force them to pay millions of dollars, he withdrew his petition, and that's how the district was stopped. Now, it doesn't mean that utilities shouldn't be undergrounded, but that's not the way to do it, and certainly not by surprise. The point is that the city manager and Wareham, working together, tried to force these owners to pay an assessment, and the city staff and Wareham are now trying to force residents to pay an assessment that they've never had to pay before. You see, the residents who owned condos for a long time, and most of the property owners who paid the P-bid, we were here before most of this major development took place. And as a mitigation for approval of projects, we expected that they would provide bus service. Property owners came together and provided the bus service. All the other P-bid owners who haven't had any expansion, small business owners, people who have no expansion are getting an increase every year and have nothing to say about it. And so the P-bid, people paying the P-bid and the residents are in the same boat because we were all here before this development took place. So as we look at the funding options, let's see what we have. Well, right now, the city of Emeryville contributes a half-cent sales tax to the Alameda County Transportation Authority. And that authority was created when that half-cent tax measure was approved on the ballot. Now that agency manages billions of dollars of projects, BART expansions, highway expansion, and they also fund Livermore Transit, Union City Transit, Amador Transit, and a whole host of other transit systems. In a situation where the city of Emeryville is contributing $3.5 million annually, we are getting back about $500,000 in return. So $3 million of the money that we raise here is going to Alameda County. A lot of that money is going for AC Transit. Well, many people in the city are paying a partial tax for AC Transit and don't have any service at all. I mean, that's a problem. So when you look at the amount of money that we're giving to Alameda County, we're not getting our fair share. Now, Alameda County has proposed to increase that half cent to 1 full cent. That measure was on the 2012 ballot, and it failed by about 700 votes. They were this close to passing that measure, which would have established that authority in perpetuity. If that increase is approved, Emeryville will be giving $7 million a year to Alameda County. And it certainly occurs to me that we're not getting our fair share, and it's time to say something about it. Well, I've said something about it, and the reaction from the city staff and the city council, they want to keep this P-bid going. I mean, okay, with the P-bid, the community has no say in where the buses go. And we need more control than it. So if we're giving this much money to the county, I say, well, why not create a ballot measure for another half-cent sales tax? The real idea is that if there's a 1 cent ceiling on the amount of local tax that can be collected, our measure would compete with the county measure. Well, why is that a good thing? Well, Emeryville is very small and has very limited political ability with all the big people. So we are in a circumstance where they have $8 billion riding on this measure, $8 billion. And we're asking for our fair share of that $8 billion. I think we should be entitled to at least $2 million out of $7 million that we're going to give them. So the idea is to create this ballot measure, and this ballot measure would only be operative if the county didn't provide $2 million. So this ballot measure would assure that we're going to get our money, or if both measures compete, their measure might be invalid. This is a way to stand up for what we deserve. The Property Owners Association hired an attorney, Stuart Glassman, and he went to the Transportation Commission and he told them that we were going to have a competing ballot measure. And lo and behold, they responded. The president of that board, he lives in Livermore, and he really wants to get Bart to Livermore in the worst way. And anything that gets in the way of that, I think he would make some really dire sacrifices. So we went down there and we made some noise, and now the county is ready to give us this money. But it requires the city has to get behind it. If we get this ballot measure, then we really have an opportunity to lock in a certain amount of money and provide long-term funding for the Emery Go Round. When I went to the county meeting, I discovered that Berkeley would like to share in the Emery Go Round. In fact, the Berkeley merchants have already voted to participate in the Emery Go Round. So we're going to get the regional cooperation we need because the Emery Go Round is right. We need to keep it forever. The Emery Go Round carries about 5,000 passengers each day, and only 10,000 people live in the city. That means that most of the people using the bus don't live here. And this isn't a tax measure that we really have to enact. The county is going to enact it, and I think they have every opportunity to get that passed. And this isn't just for the Emery Go Round. I mean, the other money is used regionally. There are improvements to BART, to the highways, and to a lot of other things, to bike programs. Alameda County program is great, but we are in a situation where we have a dire need. Now, I hope the city staff just continues to go down this P-bid road, and as I say, these members of the P-bid are not going to be subject to this kind of corporate control. It's not going to happen. I mean, they would have already filed a lawsuit had I not directed this in a different direction. After the city tries to burn you for millions of dollars, how much sympathy are you going to have afterwards? So anyway, I hope this has been educational for you, and we're creating this ballot measure, and hopefully we'll get your support. Thank you.